curse, or the Caenis. It's one of these type of flies that can come on the water. It can eat rivers and lochs, I've seen it in both. And it can test you out, so it can, when the fish are feeding on these, because there's so many, and the fish get a lot of choice to pick. So, but what it comes down to mainly is targeting these fish. Now, the hook I'm using is a Kamasan, it's a B160, in this case a size 16. Now, the shank is equivalent to an 18, the gape's equivalent to a 16, so it's a really good strong hook. Now I'm going to use a fine thread, black thread. In this case, this is a shear thread in 14.0. The first thing I'm going to do is just run the wax through it. It is a flat thread, so I prefer to do that. Start at the eye, and just work my way down. Remove the base piece. Now what I'm going to do is form a small tag, just slightly round the bend of the hook, and then go down and come back up about 5 or 6 turns. The tail, this is just some cork fibre tails dyed black. I mean, you're looking around about half a dozen or so. Just bring them out from the stem. Tip should line up. Length, now you could at least the length of the hook, but I like it slightly longer. Just my preference, it's just the way I like it. On the top, a couple of turns. There we are, that should do it. Another one just to make sure it's not going to move. Trim it round about the body length. Now it's about just slightly more than halfway up. The body is a CDC Feather, a white one. Now I'm just going to get a nice clean feather. There we are, that's not too bad. Now the way I tie it in is quite simple. I hold the bottom, or the butt section of the feather, come round with a loose turn, and then start to pull these fibres in, right to the tip, to that point there. Then I'm going to use the CDC Feather like a fine herald. So I'll wind up, probably got wax on my thread again. Now you can twist rope like the CDC Feather, or what I like to do is just put a wee touch of super glue on the body so that it sticks to it as a wind up and the black starts to show through, because I want this kind of white black mix which will give you a kind of grey, especially you'll see that when it's wet. And then just use the CDC Feather like a herald, just wind it up. There we go, till you're happy, cross your thread. You will get some odd ends like these fibres, don't worry too much about them. Trim away the excess. Again, a wee touch of wax on your thread. Just watch don't catch any of these. Tidy up that sort of thorax area and come back. Now you can leave these. These will give the impression of the legs if you want. But what I'll do is I'll take them away so you can see the shape. Now the Caenis can be, I say, quite hard to catch the fish, but just finding tapered leaders. I use a tapered leader down to 2 pound tippet. Use a reasonable one. Broken in there, so I'm just going to trim that away. Now, for the basically there's like a thorax cover, or this, what this does, this yarn, this is just bootlace, a grey bootlace, which I'm going to take a strand out. It's a single strand, I just pull it out. It's just the reason I like using this fine lace is because Antron's just a bit thick. This is just nice and neat. You could use something else, it's up to yourself. You could even use a CDC Feather and bring it through, that'll do it just as well. Or even foam. As I say, that's on the top, tie it in. Make sure it's neat enough and right on the top. It's important that you get it there. Then I'm going to get 4 natural grey CDC feathers. These ones here. I'm just going to lay them, line up the ends, the tips, so that they're going to form a nice wing. Try and get them all around about the same length, same size. Much easier to control. There we are. It's on top of one another. The ends are all lined up. Then just pull them in. the length of the wing, you're looking at least the length of the shank of the hook. Tie it over the back and right on the top. It's important that you tie it right on top. Make sure it's tied well in with 3 or 4 turns to first, just to see the length. Now, just a wee tad too much, so it's easy to go back. Just go back on yourself. If you're not happy, always go back and come back in. Just check my length again. That looks okay. Come in and trim away. Nice sharp pair of scissors. Put a wee bit of wax on your thread. Make sure you get the grip. Tidy up the thorax as good as you can. Don't worry too much if it's a bit kind of lumpy. It's okay. It'll still catch. I'll just make sure there's a nice balance there. There we are. And then you need, this is why you, everything on top. There's your wing. Bring your, in this case, the bootlace through, the yarn through. And this separates the fibres. Can encourage them by just getting them right, making sure there's a nice even split. So all I'm trying to do is making sure there's an even split. Nice and tight, pull it. Just checking again as we, there you go, just a bit better. Come through, on towards your thread, nice and tight, always keeping that nice and tight. And again, make sure, once you've got 2 or 3 turns in, pull the yarn. And then, come in and trim away, so your scissors are sharp. And tidy the head area up. Don't be shy with the thorax of this fly because it's very pronounced. And then whip finish. Trim away. And then we can basically look at the fly. Looks okay. You'll see the wing, how it's split. With the yarn coming through, right on top, pushing it and separating it, flaring these out. And if you really look at it, that's just a small nib supported by, or nib shape supported by the CDC. Now what I like to do is just to get some varnish. And then varnish the underside of the thorax and the head. There we go. And I'm just using a clear varnish. That's fine. And there we are. You can make sure the eye's clean. I'm just using the feather here. That's it. Quite a simple fly. Very simple to tie. I mean, it gets better once it's been fished, to be honest with you. It sits nice, it's a nice shape. And don't be too worried about how rough it is sometimes, because the rougher the better.